Hi, my name is Gary Curtin and I'm the Principal Euphonium of the Foden's Band. I'm also a tutor on the National Children's Brass Band of Great Britain and ex-soloist with the National Children's Band and the National Youth Brass Band of Great Britain. Today I'm going to talk to you about lip flexibilities and lip strength. Flexibilities are essentially an extended slow slur. It's sped up and increased across the range. These take various forms. It can go from between two notes, or it can go across the range, as suggested. It's important that your basic slow slurs should be in good shape before trying some of the quick and more challenging flexibilities. There are many books that you can try to use on this. For example, How Brass Players Do It is a very good one by John Ridgeon. Vitsuti Book 1, Technical Exercises, and Charles Collins, Lip Flexibilities, and of course, the Arbon. The way to work on flexibility is to start at a speed that is manageable and move to a speed that pushes your personal playing boundaries. Always use and always listen to a metronome. This way you will always have a good guide as to what tempo you can manage on any given exercise. Once an exercise is learned and you can play it really well 3 times in a row, without any mishaps, you can increase the metronome speed by 4 beats per minute and then do the same again, and then again and again. The most important thing you need to remember is to keep your air column open. We have a problem when we close the air column or when we have clenches in the throat, and this causes accidents and mishaps when we're doing our slurs. So always an open air column, no matter where we go across the range. The tongue will naturally lift in the mouth, but this is something to be conscious of rather than something to actually physically do. It'll happen naturally. The things to watch out for in your slurs are the change of note. Is it as clean as it can possibly be? Does the sound or the volume ever drop when you go from one note to another note? And is there any kind of change in the tone as you go from one note to another note? And also, as you would imagine, try to avoid any lumps and bumps. Here is an exercise, just to begin, to try show you how to move from one note to another note. Now I try to get the maximum use out of every exercise that I do, so I'm going to do exactly the same exercise, but instead of starting on my low C, I'm going to start it on a G. And now on a C. So those exercises are just to check that your flexibilities or your slow slurs are working well. A good exercise for flexibilities is one of the ones used by Alan Vitsuti in his book 1. It only goes between C and G, the first one does, between C and G, and like I mentioned before, I also personally do the same exercise starting on a G and then starting on a C as well. The thing to be careful of when you do these exercises is that when you get faster, moving from crotchets to quavers to triplets and then semiquavers, is what will happen is the distance will want to shorten. So you have to try to maintain the distance between those 2 notes, a perfect fifth in this case. Of course, as you would expect, you should do this on all the 7 combinations of valves. The next thing we're going to talk about is how to do this without using a book. I have multiple exercises in my head that I've made up over time. I use them if I'm traveling, perhaps. Nowadays, luckily, we have things like iPads, so we can load lots of things onto our iPads that we can play. But I've got an exercise that I use for my flexibilities that's just in my head. If we think of the note C as being note 1, the note G being note 2, the middle C being note 3, then we can make a little exercise for ourselves. 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You can add notes and as much as you want. You can go as high as you want, I guess. But for now, we're going to just stick to, say, 5. And of course, over time, we will speed this up. Once you've managed this, my suggestion would be to not have a gap. 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Again, on all the different valve combinations that you can use, or slide combinations, slide positionings. Really good books to use for these kinds of exercise, again, are How Brass Players Do It by John Ridgeon, Charles Collins' Lip Flexibilities, which is really good at covering across the range, and Vitsuti, Book 1, which I've just demonstrated from. Best of luck.